To come after a Trent performance is a tough call, but I think we are going to attempt it because I think loyalty is something that everyone wants, and winning customers' loyalty is always an objective, not only for brands and companies and retailers, but also for newspapers like ET and even for political parties. And in the recent elections, we have seen how voters have voted not only on loyalty, but really truly based on democracy. And that's what the proof is. Now, building loyalty program, a lot of people think it's easy. A lot of people think that it is useless. But I believe it is about culture, it is about passion, it is about process, and it's about strategy. And loyalty programs do come in various sizes, shapes, benefits, as well as costs. So long-term players build good loyalty programs so that customers come back to them and give their money to the retailer or brand and are able to retain them for a long term. So in today's session, we are going to learn from our panelists multiple things about the loyalty program and how they win their customers. But first up in round one, I'm going to ask each one of my panelists to talk about who their target customer is, how is their loyalty program structured, and what are the strategies that they are following to really keep winning with their customers. So we'll start with Anupamji.
Thank you very much. The first question, and I'm saying Liberty does not run a loyalty program. So I think, like Studio explained, Venkatji explained, that you need to make choices. In our endeavor, we feel the customer who buys Liberty product comes to the showroom 2 to 3 times in a year. And is not such a frequent purchase that he comes every month and you can entice him like fruits and vegetables to come very frequently. So we have taken a choice not to run a loyalty program. At the same time, I completely agree that loyalty is very important and how to keep the customer engaged and how do we use the CRM techniques to get them again after some time, but not get them in, onto promotion or getting some points and giving them reason. But we need to target them at the right time. Say, for example, if it is school shoes, we know the season is coming and the child is 8 years and our data crunching will tell that this customer can be reached. And we will make programs like these so that the customer is connected with us at the right time and how you bring them back. At the same time, we need to do as an old brand conscious effort to keep on getting new customer base. And I think the focus of the company is always attracting new customers, while it is always very important to take the old customers along. So this is how, and during the course of the journey, we will talk more about the loyalty.
Yes, Satyen.
I go. Govind, first of all, I've got to really appreciate what you and your previous organization where you worked with have done on customer loyalty, so especially at Shopper Stop. So I think for me, just to introduce ourselves, so Celio, we are a French men's apparel company. We have a very strong loyalty program. And I think we've seen significant difference in consumers who are loyal to the brand, whether we look at any KPIs, whether it's on engagement scores, whether it's on the stickiness to the brand. We've seen the average basket size, average revenue per consumer lifetime. I think all that really makes a very strong case for us to reinvest on the loyalty program. And for us, I think it all starts with putting the consumer first. So if you, like you said, if you are passionate about consumer, you really want to be obsessed about consumer, it starts with every function in the organization thinking consumer. So think consumer first. So for me, loyalty is a buy product. But when you think consumer, for us, the DNA of the brand is product. And hence, what sort of an experience are you giving through product? What sort of experience are you giving through consumer experience in shop or online? What sort of experience are you giving on the feedback mechanism with the consumer gives? How do you really respond to him? And then you cherry top it with a consumer loyalty program. So we have a loyalty program which is points based. And just to share with you, we have about 1.3 million consumer base on our loyalty consumers. About 60% of them are active. So we really track active consumers. About 44% of our revenue in our stores comes from our loyal consumer base. And the frequency of super loyal consumers, about 2 or 3% of the entire base are super loyal consumers who really shop 10,000 and above. So this is how we really track. And I think I'm personally a big believer, even in here or in my previous organizations, on how loyalty can really help build consumer engagement and build stickiness with the consumer.
So, quick introduction. Hummel is a Danish sportswear heritage brand. It's quite young in this country. So, when we talk about loyalty, for us, a large split of our business is actually in Indian Southeast Asia is, as we call it, institutional business, which is a custom order or like B2B trade. So over there, loyalty for us is we play as the same team. You know, like when we are actually working with clubs, when we are actually part of big tournaments, or we are, you know, like working with a large, let's say, a corporate for their internal um, employees' clothing. We need to know the dates, we need to know when the products are needed, and we need to be flexible in terms of who are actually going to be the end user. Because for us, the buyer is not necessarily the consumer, right? Like someone is doing the purchase, but the user is someone else. The second part, which is the B2C, which is more about the direct to consumer business. So a large part of Hummel is actually about sustainability. So our loyalties programs are run more on reusability. You know, like you can actually return your old products and get values or get points. Not so much in terms of giving discounts and trying to, you know, like call it loyalty, but more of like a sales promotion. We don't do that much. We are more about, you know, like being very consistent about our choices. We are building up something for the long haul. So we are working more in the back end in terms of ensuring that products are delivered in the quickest possible time with the best possible you know, like quality at the price points that we want to operate in India. Now the price points that we want to operate in India is slightly different than what we operate in probably Europe or some of the mature markets. Even probably the products that we sell in Singapore would be slightly different that we sell in India. So accordingly, the programs also change slightly.
For the audience, could you explain your product lines? Because many of them may not know your product lines, price points, etc.
So just to give an example, so we have learned a lot from, you know, like pioneer brands like Liberty, and you know, like we understand and we believe that they have been able to crack the Indian consumers' aspiration as well as the choices. So let's say the sneaker that I'm wearing, you know, like we are going to retail it probably in around 1799, like 1800 bucks or something like that. Now that is something that we are not going to do it in probably Europe, right? So now that does that mean that we are going to, you know, like go let go of our value systems, or, you know, like we're going to compromise on quality? No, not probably that. But then we have to make choices that probably would not be doing too much of marketing or paid promotions over here. We would put our belief in the product and pass on all the benefits via pricing. So I think those are the value systems that we are trying to build up within the company, that if we have to operate in India, we have to understand and adapt to the Indian value system.
Thank you for sharing some of the insights. While, yes, Liberty may not have a loyalty program, but they do track based on their data, their customers, their habits, etc. So my next round, I'm going to ask each one of them to talk about how they're using social media and influencers for impacting their customers to build loyalty or community. And second part would be about what kind of personalization are they able to take on for their customers.
Uh, so definitely, I think influencer marketing and social media marketing are very, very important and relevant, and then especially if you're targeting youth and you want to run youthful brand, and uh, the content is becoming very, very important because people are not just looking at some advertising, and when people talk as a third party, which are influencers. Which is very, very interesting. And our recent launch of Leap 7X, and I think the kind of attraction we have got with the influencer marketing has paid a lot more dividends than the traditional marketing from, I would say, newspapers or TV channels. So I think that as a category is working, and you're able to reach a different set of audience which they follow. So I think it brings a good collaborative approach to bring your audience to the uh, to the brand, and it changes the uh, I would say the change perception of youthfulness which a brand like ours need at this point of time. So I think it has worked quite effectively. Sorry, what was your second part of the question?
Are you doing any personalization?
So personalization is definitely a thought process. We are not at the moment doing it, but in the recent, what we are planning after 3 months is something where we are trying to do. But for a mass brand where we sell about almost like 50,000 pairs every day, it becomes very, very challenging to do a personalized thing. But we are trying to do something very innovative. In the next forum, probably I will be able to talk about it more. We are trying, but it becomes very, very difficult to do a personalization while our store people are trained right now to kind of memorize the loyal customers and greet them with names, and we put it as a part of a KRA that how they are able to do that and make personalized calls or messages if they are definitely a very regular customers, so which is done through the store manager level and not really through the technology. So we want to bring that personal touch in that communication.
Yes, Satyen.
Yeah, Govind, for us, our consumer TG, the target audience is 22 to 28. And I think given about 10% or 12% of our range speaks to consumers below 18. And that's what has helped in the last 3 years. We've brought in every year, our age of our core TG has come down about year and a half. So from a 30 to 33, we've come down to about 25,
You're
26.
becoming younger.
Yeah, so it's just that the entire product range, and obviously we've got 55% of our population is below 35, and that's our code. So for us, honestly, social media is a very important way of communicating and engaging with consumer. We've taken a little different approach from many other competition brands. We've not really gone the big celebrity route in actually getting so we've been very selective on which influencers we bring. How do the values match with what the company, what's the tone of the brand, what the voice of the brand, and really getting the right. I think the biggest part in really getting the best ROI or best consumer resonance with the influencer is really getting picking the right influencer and working with them long time, not just 1-2 instances. So we've got a couple of influencers who we worked with them for last 7 years. So we've been working with them, and I think it just helps resonate with the consumer really well. To share with you an example of how we really use to build a community on social media, we have a very nice range of licensee and anime collection, like the Naruto or One Piece or Demon Slayer. These are very niche consumer segment whom you speak to, but they are quite super loyal consumers to that property. And so for us, when we started this journey about 4 years back. When you really take the right influencer of that property, so example, if you're speaking to a Naruto, so who really stands the value of that property, and we did a live launch on Instagram, and we built that sort of so it's not just selling the product, but it's also celebrating the 20th year anniversary of Shippuden Naruto, and then getting that community to come together and say what's coming, what's dropping in new, and I think building that curiosity and newness. And that we do it not just once, you do it periodically, and then you start building that community for that property. And similarly, we've done it for a couple of other properties. So I think that's where we've trying to build community within the large set of base you'll have.
Excellent.
And that's really working well for us. So this is the social media approach. For personalization, I think honestly, personalization at scale is not easy. I think we all speak, but it's not easy. But what's really helping is, I think, given the India startup ecosystem, we are really able to use that to actually really build those cohorts or build that segmentation of consumer and really understand their purchasing behavior, their buying patterns, their spending, whether they are value consumer, doing USS, do they come or do they come outside? What do they really prefer and what is the stickiness? And building those cohorts and then speaking to them is for me also a personalization, and that's what we do. Also personalizing, again, given the AI which we use, so we can also personalize communication, personalize the design which goes to that consumer
Correct.
on the communication language and the
Sure.
product which we send to them. So just to share with you an example, which we did a preview sale, when we did for this time, when we did a preview sale, we really wanted to again segment it with our consumer base, and we got a 24% better
result.
than last year. So I think it's
Absolutely. Right.
for me, loyalty is all about trying. No recipe works always, so you've got to change is the biggest factor. And if you really have to keep trying new things, new techniques, new tactics to really engage with the consumer better, and whatever works, stick to that for a 6 to 8 month period, and then again try
something.
So I think that's where we are working on personalization.
Excellent.
So if you allow me, I'll probably take the personalization piece first. So roughly about in a year, we are anyways catering to probably 6 to 6.5 lakh units customized products to corporates and clubs. So that part we are anyways doing. That's in our DNA. You know, like every team jersey is actually customized. You know, like with each name and everything. When you talk about influences, we have some you know, like again inherent rules. Like so we call it as doing good with along with doing good business. We call it like a karma philosophy. It's actually our CSR belief internally. So we normally don't run any influencer program that's directed towards someone who is not doing a job. You know, like we do not want to probably influence someone who is in a school or a college. We don't want to do that as a company. First jobber is what we call it, whom we actually target.
Right.
You know, like where we actually show them the product.
So what is the price point at which you retail?
So I'll give an example. So let's say probably, you know, like a 100% recycled T-shirt polo would cost us somewhere around $14.99 or $12.99, depending upon what level of sustainability, you know, like that product has gone through. So I'll give an example. So we work with the club in Ladakh. It's India's first eco-friendly club, you know, like 100% natural, and they play in India's highest football ground, actually. Apart from the club, the B2B business that we have done with them, probably, we sold around 10,000 jerseys to B2C platform users, where not necessarily they would be buying it being a follower of the club, but more for the values that the club stands for. It's a sustainable product. It's a part of that money goes into developing the stadium and all. So we are very cost driven in these kind of influencer programs. Personally, if you ask me, see, this is a marketplace. You know, like today, someone will be doing an influencing for us. The other day will be doing for someone else. It is very difficult for us to, you know, like convey a very strong message through, you know, like mercenaries. You know, like we have to get our own people, our own value systems through the influences, and that we run mostly via clubs.
Okay. Just a side question. Is the Hummel's logo fast forward? And is the tattoo on your hand the same?
So chevron means progression, you know.
Chevron.
Like, yeah, so it's a progression, you know, like
Yes.
so Hummel actually means bumblebee in German, you know, like it's a small you know, like animal with very small wing base, and if it would have listened to its society pressure or like peers, since the wind draft is so small, it should not be able to fly. Since it's illiterate and believes its own notion, it still goes ahead and flies. So we call it that at times, don't try to follow what the others are telling you. If you have inherent belief in your own dreams, you will sustain. We are a 100-year-old brand. We have sustained without doing the heavy, you know, like marketing. Some of our retail partners, they're with us for 50, 55 years, you know, like globally. Wow. So we are, you know, like highly committed to personal relationships, I would say, with our brands. And even our NPS in India, we are very young, but still, you know, like we have extremely high repeat purchases. So yeah.
Thank you. So now I would like to open up the forum for any questions from the audience. We seem to have nailed it.
Come on, ladies and gentlemen, I would urge you all and
Yes.
encourage you all to please share questions, because this is the day, this is the platform where you get to, have your questions one-on-one with our speakers. So can we please get the mics there? Right, they're on the left side of the hall.
Hi, thank you for a very enlightening discussion. This is Tejas Shah from Avendus Park. Uh, just wanted to, so yesterday we had a very super session on how EOS's windows are expanding despite we using a lot of tech to understand customer better. Perhaps we are failing somewhere to do that polarized objective efficiently. Uh, Looking at, like, reflecting on that discussion and now today personalization, and interestingly, just before that, we had the trend session where Zudio has actually done super job without personalization. So is personalization a very wrong goal for fashion to chase, because then you compromise margin, you again run the risk of running into that EOSS problem later on. So just wanted to know your view on that.
Satyen, do you want to take that first?
So for me, honestly, whichever brand, wherever, whichever format you work, I think consumer experience comes first. And if you really have to have consumer in the center of things, I think, as I said, people may run a loyalty program or may not run a loyalty program, but to do well, you have to be consumer obsessed, and that's the starting point. For me, loyalty is, as I said, is a byfactor of what you do. Some you may take a choice that you don't want to run it. Fair enough. What also works is, we've seen, in fact, for us, year on year, season after season, when we've strengthened our loyalty program, our discount rates have only come down. So while last year wasn't the best year for retail, but our markdowns, our first quality sell-throughs have only slightly improved. So when you build loyalty with your consumer, I think, given it's a very, very fierce competitive market, and if you don't reward, so if I go to my the saloon which I normally go, I go there because of some other factor. It's not just because I get points, but I think probably the service which you get, or the personalization on be understanding what you really want, is you know that you'll not have a haircut which will be very, very different and wrong. So I think understanding your consumer, personalization is also understanding your consumer better, understanding what they really want, and then living up to the expectations. So for us, when we've seen on our denim bottoms, when we understood the stickiness of what really makes consumer come back to us, it was highest with some one category of within the denims. And then we've really worked on what can we do, what next on this to really excite the consumer always on this sort of category. So I think it's just that using consumer data to really taking more informed decisions and only elevating the consumer experience is what we really work towards.
I would like to add, like in my previous answer, I was talking about from the normal consumer who's like a retail consumer. But for a business model, which you were talking, sometimes you need to enhance personalization. Say, for example, there are a lot of markets which we target, like say even in the school shoe. If there's a school chain, we personalize, or I would say customize the shoe design for them. So which becomes an additional advantage for them to consume the product. Not just school shoes. There are many corporates where we design footwear for them, be it like Maruti or Jet Airways or many other organizations. So you create a personalization so that it stands out for them to become advantage and a customer, so that it also differentiates from your normal retail products.
Okay, just to add, personalization is not only about communication and product, it is also about experience. So I'm sure some of you might have experimented or looked at something called as personal shopper that was introduced by Shopper Stop maybe 8 years back, and today contributes almost like maybe 15% of their sales. Now, personal shopper, when you go, for example, some of you might know that in Shoppers we had a model which is called Customer Care Associate, and Andheri store, which was our first store, there are a lot of customers who'd come and ask for Manmeet. He was one of our CCS, and ask him to really help them to shop better. So they would pick up a shirt and then ask Manmeet, look, which trousers will go with this? That is personal shopping. And that's what Personal Shopper, the program, is now doing, where everything that you want within the store is bought to a specific place, a Personal Shopper location or lounge, and you are helped to shop the right model, the right things that will go with you. So Personal Shopper is not only about product personalization, which can take monogramming, engraving, etc. That's a much more difficult proposition. But helping the customer to shop what is right for him, that is much more easier. And a loyalty program definitely helps you better, because you would have the track of what the customer shopped earlier, which brands he bought, what styles he bought, and that would further enhance the entire shopping experience. So to me, personalization is not only about a specific product, it's about the whole experience, communication, shopping experience, and product proposition. That's what I mean by personalization. Yeah. I hope we are able to clarify. Yes, please. Can we get the mic here?
Thank you, sir. I just want to know the choose for the right influencer. So if I want to choose the right influencer, what basis? The product features, community, communications. What basis I am choosing for the right influencers?
You are saying the choice of right influencer.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I think the starting point is understanding your consumer really well. So I think if you really, what sort of a consumer TG would you like to speak to? What influences that consumer? So just to give you an example, when we were really thinking of our brand campaign, we really went back on the drawing board and said, what sort of a language would you like to communicate? Who do these people, young guys? So today, the young, if you were to ask an engineering graduate 5 years back or 7 years back, he would have named the top 4 tech companies to be the aspiration for him to go to. But now today, if you were to look at the startup ecosystem, and if you ask that young boy, he would suggest, he'll say, I've got enough startups where I would really like to go. And why I would like to go is because I would learn more. So I think what is he getting influenced by is the starting. So understanding your consumer, understanding the language, what they speak, and then speaking that language with that, the right influencer mix is getting that thing right. So I think that's where we follow this method to really zero down on which sort of influencer we use.
So I can add to some of the case studies. Say, for example, for our recent campaign when we wanted to target youth, so it's for Leap 7X, which is sneaker brand, and we identified as dancing as a good culture, and we tried to create a community around the dance and the cool and the street dance which people were doing. So we identified the people who are best at it and who give a good look and a fashion and have good, I would say, Instagrammable profile, so that when they use it, there are a lot of youth people doing it. And in the other case, say for example, if it is for like a school shoe campaign, we targeted the mother, and the mother who were very caring, and they were used as an influencer, not really the consumer, and they were guiding that how they take care of their child, and important shoe becomes an important. So it really depends on the communication objective you have in your mind, and how do you choose the right person to communicate that most effectively.
Thank you, sir.
Hi, first of all, thank you, Govind sir. I'm Sahitya from Shopper, and I have been a great admirer of Personal Shopper that you recently spoke. My question is basically for Mr. Satain, CEO. As basically, what I believe, loyalty generally work as a great paradox within the company. Sometimes we take decision inside cabin, and when the result come out of that decision, our loyalty program tell us a different story altogether. So any recent learning that you might have taken out of that personalized program, and if you can share us that learning with us.
Yeah, so I think data, so I'm a big believer that data really gives you a lot of information, but beyond data, beyond this, if you really want to really get the first consumer pulse, even when so if there are a couple of weeks when you see market not responding to what you're trying to do, the best way to learn is to go on the floor. So when you go on the retail floor, you really, when you interact with your store staff, when you interact with the consumer, is then when you really start to get those levers of what really need to change in the store, whether it's from a visual merchandising sense, whether it's from a product acceptance sense. When you really walk the floor, when you walk the competition, you really get a lot of insights. So I think always you cannot just be only data, or you cannot only be gut, but I think you've got to find that fine balance. So like I was sharing, the preview sale, we normally every year we have a preview sale, but when we really wanted to do this sort of a differentiation, and how do you really extract higher from what you've been always doing, we went back to the drawing room on saying, how do you really look at data? The second is we tweaked our way we used to communicate with the consumer. So we realized, honestly, it's the way, the medium in which you communicate to the consumer, which consumer gets the best response, in which medium does he respond to it the best. We just tweaked those 2 or 3 small little tweak things, and we got about 20 to 23% better response. So from a consumer, in that 5-day preview period, we saw about 23% more consumers coming in. So I think this is a learning. We've been doing it for the last 6-7 years. But when you constantly learn, and when you constantly change the way communication consumer are adapting, I think that's where you get a lot of answers. Thanks.
Hi. Good morning, gentlemen. My name is Yusuf. Just wanted to ask, since retail fashion is customer-centric, so what are we doing about fashion e-commerce, where it is booming, the sales are booming, but there's no personalization or customer-centric approach there?
No, I think even for e-commerce, there's a lot of personalization. I think the data which the e-commerce companies have, I think is outstanding. So they are more tech companies than just platforms. So I think they just understand the consumer buying, which sort of product works well, what sort of color schemes work well. I think a lot of data getting captured, a lot of which towns, which pin codes, where the market is really growing faster. How do we do targeted communication in those markets? So I think even for our e-commerce website, we've zeroed down on focus markets, because you don't want to spread everywhere. The monies are very thin, and you don't want to spread everywhere. So we know where the resonance is highest. In those markets, we really focus, retarget those markets. So I think whether it's offline or online, understanding the consumer, I know there's no physical touch, but you still have a lot of insights which you get, and probably the insights are a little more than normally. Fashion has been a little laggard on data and how we really use data. I think e-commerce helps you, the digital world helps you to fast track that piece in the men's fashion apparel world. So I think it's not that they don't understand the consumer and they're selling blind, and it's just that the consumer is coming. Actually, they're reaching out to the consumer. You would understand when you open your email ID, you would be retargeted so many times. So there's nothing, if you've not stopped, you're completely getting tracked, right from what media you consume, what is your behavior, which time it works the best. Even if I have to post you, should I post you at 6:30 in the evening, or should I send you an alert at 8:30 in the morning? That also gets bucketed basis the behavior you use. What time do you log into your Instagram or your social media? I think a lot of insights from the data, whether it's offline or it's not offline or e-com. It's basically how do you really combine both. So you got to use some of the technology, some of the e-com benefit, digital benefit, to support offline stores. That's what works.
Thank you so much. Just an added question to it. Since we are talking data and being customer-centric through approaches.
A little louder.
Oh, sorry. Since you're talking about being customer-centric through data and approaches, so again, it is profitable for the business, not the consumers. So what I meant is just an added question again. So what kind of personalization we can think in future through AI or something else, where it can enhance the shopping experience who are buying online?
Yeah, so for me, honestly, for the consumer, it's a win-win proposition. So if you understand your consumer behavior and you reach out to him with that specific, so for me, if a consumer who loves linen, I don't want to send him a polyester communication. It's a waste of time for him and for us. So I think it's a the span of attention is in seconds for the consumer. And if you don't reach out to him, what is relevant to him, it just doesn't make sense. So I think understand the consumer, not wasting his and my both energy, one is the win-win for consumer. Second, with loyalty, when you have a tiered loyalty, you're only gratifying with surprise gifts or with higher tier points to the consumer who's more loyal to you. So he's winning. It's a win-win for both. Not only just the brand makes money, because it just never works if you only have to think only from a brand perspective. But when you see consumer obsession, it also starts with the consumer first. So if he's actually being loyal to you, you've got to reward him different. And if you have, that's where the loyalty programs work or don't work. People say sometimes they don't really, it just doesn't work. It's a cost. But I think if you really, you can get 4 times better returns if you really tier your loyalty program and reward your more loyal, super loyal consumers even more. And then engagement moves up, your repeat purchases, your frequency. It's not just about they buying into you, but they also spreading the message. So just, I was sharing with you about 4 years back when we launched some of our anime. Today you have a anime sort of this community which has got created. It's got created by and it's a win-win for both. So getting the right sort of a quality, it's not that animes are not available, but getting the right licensee, working with the right Japanese team to get the right sort of a relevancy when Shippuden celebrates its 20th year. And when you do that, it's just getting the relevancy, getting the consumer the best quality product, better design at the right time is also a win-win proposition for both. So that's where it works for us.
Hi, I have one last question here on your left. Do we have time for one more question?
Yeah, please.
Sure. Okay. Slightly off topic, right? But I think a large part of what you also do is to sort of understand trends, right? And with e-coms, it typically becomes simpler because they have a lot of data points, that they capture when the customer interacts with them. But for retailers, it's slightly difficult, right? Especially when you don't have an online presence. So how do you sort of capture customer intent to predict trends to be able to serve them better in the future?
So honestly, again, whether you're a tech company or you're an offline company, you have to use some amount of digital support. So there are startups which actually help you crawl what's getting searched the most, right from what's happening on the fashion show to what is actually getting crawled the highest. So it's whether you want to name a brand, you can zero down on the brand. You want to name a market where you really want to understand. If you want to understand what's happening on the denim scene today in Tokyo, you could really get sort of insights. So I think whether you run offline or online, you got to really keep looking out at trends and look at how consumer is evolving. Second, for us, what really helps is we are a French apparel brand, and honestly, at least men's Western wear, there is some sort of an influence which happens from the Western market. So example for us 2 years back is when actually the men's denim bottoms moved from slim and skinny to really straight and regular and boot. So we started to see that in the last now about 12 months in India, especially starts from Chandigarh, Punjab, and then in Delhi and follows. So I think that's where you get benefits from offline when you have, if you're a global company, that's one way of getting it. Second, I think using technology to really, and it's not very expensive. The startup tech system in India is outstanding, and you can use a lot of that to really understand consumer changes which are happening in their buying trends which are evolving, and then it's your decision whether it's that brand value which it fits in, whether you want to respond to that sort of a trend, whether it's in the boundaries of what the brand stands for. If it stands for, you really have to adapt and change. So that's what we follow.
I think one of the key learnings for me in fashion has been, while you are driving the car, you not only look ahead, you also look in the rear view mirror, and you also look in the side mirror. Fashion is all about that. So you look at current data, you look at past data, you look at forecasting, you look at what data is available on e-com. So multiple points, but at the end of the day, if you look at a product creation, it is all about heart. and that heart predicts some lines, some colors, some styles, etc., that you combine with data and then produce the line. So physical stores do have that limitation that they project something that will sell at least 3 months ahead, 6 months ahead, 9 months ahead, depending upon the fashion, depending on the category. And then they bring into the store, and at that point of time, sometimes it works, sometimes it does not work. It's also like movies, because movies take almost 24 months to get produced, and sometimes they work, sometimes they bomb. But at the end of the day, there is a director's vision, which is also what happens here in the fashion forecaster's vision, that brings together data, forecasting, and styling together, the way I told you about driving.
Just on a lighter note, I can add, at least in your own store, the data you are collecting and controlling, like a display mechanism. So you will try a lot of things and move things around to make a difference, or a personalized customer service. But in online, you're not controlling anything. It's the big boss who controls everything, and only who invests money there, the product gets at front. So I think there's a lot of control at the retail store, and there are a lot of experimentation which you can do on the touch and feel, rather than depending purely on the technology and AI, which automatically puts something forward and puts something backward.
So since we are quite, much smaller than, of course, the big boys, so we use that nimbleness to our advantage. We have identified around roughly 200 odd, if we can call them loyal customers, but we call them, like fans. We actually reach out to them when we are actually at the designing stage. We actually send them products for fit sizes, like whether it's working for them. Now we can actually do it because we are at a stage and size that allows us to be nimble. So WhatsApp is a great, like I remember previously when we were at Jabong, we used to have those expensive focus group discussions, like design mood boards and all. Today with, like WhatsApp, you can actually run a great, focus group discussion digitally at probably 1/100th of a cost, and get feedback on your designs right from patterns, as well as then, just follow up with your D2C, like shipments, and get them the samples for size test and get feedback. So that's what we should do.
I think they're done.
Yeah, I think
Thank you.
yes, we.